Thanks for joining us for another edition of Religious Hard Talk. I'm Ian Boyne. Today we explore Islam. We have with us Islamic scholar Dr. Abdullah Hakim Quick. He is the first African American to have graduated from the Islamic University of Saudi Arabia in 1979. He's a well-known scholar in the Islamic world. Lived for some time in South Africa, has visited over 62 countries, lecturing on Islam. He's based in Canada and has written this enthralling book, Deeper Roots, Muslims in the Americas and the Caribbean from before Columbus to the present. He believes that Islam is our roots as people of African descent, that the slaves who came from West Africa were largely Muslims, and that Islam was being practiced here during the time of slavery. So he's going to explore some of these interesting historical issues today on Religious Hard Talk. Later we're going to have two Jamaican Muslims also speak on their faith. We thank you so much for your company. Dr. Quick, good to have you. We were supposed to have met some years ago. It didn't work out. I'm very happy that you could be with us this year and to talk to us on the show. So you have this thesis, which some of us are acquainted with through the work of Dr. Afraz, who was at the university here. It is a view that has been contested, the view that a number of our slaves were really Muslims, that even some of the persons whom we thought were Christian, they were Muslim. You know, it wasn't healthy to declare yourself a Muslim during the time of slavery, and right. You know, some person disguised their Islamic practice. But you think that there is solid historical evidence, not conjecture, for the view of a strong Muslim presence in the Caribbean before and during the time of slavery?
Yes. First off, I want to thank you for having me on your program. And as an African American with Caribbean roots, my wife is from Jamaica, from St. Anne's.
Yes.
It's always a homecoming when we come back into the region again, yes. Especially from Canada, because it's freezing now and it's snowing.
It's good to have you.
It's a beautiful homecoming to come back.
Yes.
Especially, you know, to deal with the roots, you know. And 2 days ago, we were up in St. James in Maroon Town.
You're in Maroon Town?
And we actually visited the historians there, and we traveled around, and, you know, again, this confirms to me, you know, some of the information, you know, that I have been studying over the years.
So there was a strong Muslim presence in Maroon Town in St. James?
Right. You know, and you know, not only did I study in Arabia, but I have a master's and PhD from the history department of the University of Toronto.
That's true.
So this is mainstream history.
Mainstream history,
so the documentation that I'm bringing to you is not just a guess. I'm not trying to twist information. Yes. I want to bring you hard facts.
I see.
Okay, religious and non-religious.
Yes.
You know, and so it's important for us to understand how history has been twisted and changed around. And, you know, the very fact that they say Christopher Columbus discovered America, you know, when people are living here already, you know, shows you that there's something wrong with the whole basis of the history.
Yes.
What we have shown, and I learned from, you know, when I learned the Arabic language, I started running into documents that was actually showing in Arabic Muslims crossing the ocean long before Columbus.
Before Columbus?
Before Columbus, and coming in contact with the people on this side of the world.
Is that so?
One of the documents, Al-Umari, who's a famous writer, he interviewed Mansa Musa, who was a great West African emperor who traveled in 1324 to Mecca. He made pilgrimage. He is considered to be the richest man that ever lived on the face of the planet. He had 15,000 camels laden with gold, because Mali, the Niger River, was a chief source of gold in the world. When he reached Egypt, they said, "Where do you get this power from?" And he said, "We are a lineage. And my older brother, Abu Bakr, went across the ocean, meaning the Atlantic, with 2,000 ships, and he never returned." Now, we have traced the writings of these people called Mandinka or Mandingo. The writings are across Brazil. The writings are in Central America. The writings go up into the United States. And Leo Weiner, a Harvard University professor. He wrote a book called Africa and the Discovery of America. He also agrees with this.
He agrees with that?
Yeah, Barry Fell, who wrote Saga America, Harvard University. He also agrees with this. And so what we recognize when you go to Central America, especially Panama, that there were black people there when the Spanish came. And so when the Spanish came, when Balboa came, they said, don't go to that side because there's black people with beards. You know, so don't go there. So the Spanish went, you know, straight up, and they were finding this all over the region. The British, who are always very slick and sly, they said we'll call them black Caribs. So the black Carib people that we now identify as Garifuna. The Garifuna people were in the island of St. Vincent, and they struggled also with the British, and they were exiled to Belize. So if you go to the Caribbean side of Belize, Costa Rica, all the way down to Colombia, there's black people all along that side. And the Garifuna are a distinct people, and they are speaking an African tongue up until now, and many of them are Muslims, and the queen of the Garifuna recognized my book. She lives in New York City now.
Yes.
And she recognized this work, and many of the Garifuna are returning to their roots. I'll be exploring this, you know, later on in the week, you know, here in the city. Following this, the slavery period now, there's documents coming to this in Arabic language, documents showing the slaves in Brazil. There was a big slave revolt in 1835. The Portuguese gave them boats and said, go back home. So they actually went back, and I was 2 years ago in Lagos. I visited the Oba of the Yoruba, who is the highest religious authority of the Yoruba, and he's a Muslim, by the way. And he showed me, I said, what about Africans from Brazil? He said, oh yes, we have a mosque in Lagos called Brazilian Mosque. That's where your ancestors who came here to America, went to America, they returned, and we know who they are. In Suriname, they call them bush blacks. These are Maroons. They're all forms of Maroons. They liberated a territory which is independent up until now in Suriname, which is Dutch Guyana. In Trinidad, the Mandingo Free Society, you know, it is a well-known group. Last year, we had a big celebration in Port of Spain for a person named Yunus Muhammad Bath. And he had a mosque, which we know the location of the mosque. And they freed themselves from slavery, and they actually fed Port of Spain for a period of time, you know, from their plantations. In Haiti, the Haitian Revolution was begun on the plantations. And two of the great leaders, there were many, one was called Macandal, and the other was called Bookmen. These are what is called marabout. A marabout is an Islamic cleric or a traveling scholar.
So Bookman
Bookman was Muslim. Was Muslim. Yeah, that's because marabout means morabit. That's the Arabic word. Toussaint Louverture, he organized the rebellions.
Yes.
But he didn't start the rebellions. So Muslims were directly involved in the Haitian rebellions. Coming to Jamaica, the magistrate, Robert Madden, and I have it in my book, Deeper Roots, he reports he was sent by the British government to help the island transfer from slavery to indentured labor. Okay? So he came in and he found some African people who were speaking Arabic. In Kingston. And he had served in Turkey before and in Syria. So he quoted some Arabic to them. And he found out they were hidden Muslims. They had Christian names. But they were communicating to each other in Arabic language to the countryside of Jamaica. And there was a document, and Dr. Afroz, she mentions this. This is a solid thing that she brings out. This is the work, this is the writing of Muhammad Kaaba. And this is in Arabic, and we have this document, you know, where he's clearly writing in Arabic. So these writings are all over the region now. This is recognized in history departments, even European history departments now.
European history departments?
Yeah, that Muslims were here in the slavery period. If you look at the ports of call, where the slaves came from, now this is not hocus pocus. You can see Senegal, Gambia, along the Gold Coast. The major empires in that region were Muslims. The first slave ships that the Portuguese brought was actually they were Wolof, who came from Senegal. And they made a rebellion in Hispaniola, which is now Dominican Republic, and in Puerto Rico and in Panama. So we have evidence all over the region. This is not to say that there were not other nations. We celebrate our relationship. We were all together shoulder to shoulder on the boat. Ashanti, Wolof,
Yes.
Susu, Mandingo, Fulani, Koramanti, Yoruba, shoulder to shoulder. And what we're talking about now is we need to be shoulder to shoulder today.
Yes.
It's not the way to say this one didn't exist or the other one did, but we need to recognize, all of our presence,
Our contributions.
and stand shoulder to shoulder.
An enthralling historical survey. This is what you will continue to get from Dr. Quick, highly rated Islamic scholar. We take our first break on Religious Hard Talk.